This is Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan, brought to you by Bonwell.
Good evening, Bula Vinaka and Namaste. Welcome back to Straight Talk, and I hope you had a good weekend. And back from the weekend, of course, we have entered the month of the general election. September 1st today, September 17th is the day when you go and cast your votes. Of course, pre-polling starts this Wednesday, the 3rd of September, and according to the Supervisor of Elections, more than 50,000 people are expected to vote during the pre-polling process from the 3rd to the 15th of September. Tonight we have two parties in studio as we have started off our double party talkbacks, and I'd like to confirm a few things for you as we go along. First of all, as you know, we have been saying that elections are a contest of visions between parties. The parties present their visions and you, the voters, decide on who gives you the best deal, and then you go and cast your vote. Straight Talk gives you the opportunity to find out what the candidates and the parties have to offer in the coming election and what is their stand on issues that concern you. In studio tonight on Straight Talk, we have SODELPA and National Federation Party representatives. We have NFP candidate Attar Singh and SODELPA candidate Semesa Karavaki. As promised, our double party talkbacks on Straight Talk have started. We are yet to get a confirmation on when the Fiji First will come on Straight Talk. We sent through further request to the Fiji First General Secretary Ayah Said Kayum on Saturday, and again today we are awaiting their response. We are also awaiting Fiji First leader Vorenge Banimarama's confirmation for the leaders talkback on Straight Talk on VTFM and Radio Sargam. Moving on, I would like to thank on behalf of our listeners on VTFM Sargam and also through our video streaming which is going all around the world including Fiji, for you two gentlemen to agree to come on Straight Talk. So thank you Mr. Karavaki and thank you Mr. Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
Now straight into it, before we start off with questions, of course you out there, you can also call in with your questions. The numbers to call 3314-766, that number again 3314-766, 9923-351, 9923-352, 773-4766 and 773-0693. Semesa Karavaki first, from SODELPA. Why did you join SODELPA to contest this election?
Thank you, Vijay. First of all, I am a church minister apart from being a lawyer. And the ideology that drives me to become a candidate in these elections, the ideology is in what I believe in. The ideology is in seeing that there could be peace and living together, coexistence of all other races based on a different social structure. I don't agree with the structure, Vijay, that is now being adopted with this government. And I can't stand on the sideline and allow that to happen, because it will bring misery, it will bring problem to this beloved country of ours.
So that's why you have decided to contest.
That is why.
Mr. Singh?
Thank you, Vijay. Before that, I just want to, on behalf of our party, express our sadness at the current situation in Golan Heights. I think the whole country is praying. We've heard the latest news that there's still no information as to where our troops are. It's a very, very sad situation for our country, and we hope and pray that the good Lord will guide the troops as they are there, in whatever they do, in whatever they decide, and in the days ahead. As far as my joining the NFP, I think I've been a member of the NFP for a very, very long time, except for a brief period when I was compelled to resign from the party as a result of the political party decree. But as soon as I had the opportunity, once I decided to contest the elections, the NFP was my party, and that's a party I've decided to come back to.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Karavaki, of course, you are a former supervisor of elections. We'll go into some of the issues relating to that later on. Of course, that's the last elections we had in 2006. Mr. Singh, you contested the elections, the previous elections, but came out unsuccessful. What is your strategy this time around to ensure that you actually make it into Parliament?
Well, firstly, Vijay, I think the previous elections and the outcomes of previous elections cannot be compared with this one for the simple reason that the previous elections were held on what were known as a majority voting system or majoritarian voting systems, and this is a proportionate voting system. So that's the first answer. Secondly, the NFP as a party has been growing in strength. Our support base has increased. We are quite excited by the support that we're getting out in the fields throughout our campaigns, the feedback we're getting. NFP is doing very, very well, and we in fact are excited about what the outcome will be this time around.
What about you as a candidate? You confident that you will make it to Parliament this time around?
I have come to these elections, Vijay, with a very focused agenda. As a unionist, I have been involved in the last 6 or 7 years under Bani Marama rule, fighting to restore worker rights and worker freedoms and benefits. Unfortunately, that has not been possible because of the decrees and the fact that the Bani Marama regime has not been listening despite the international labor organizations.
We'll ask about the decrees later, but this time, are you confident that you will make it into Parliament?
Given the issues, definitely, Vijay, I'm confident I'll be in Parliament.
This time you believe you'll be lucky?
Yes.
Now, we have spoken to people on what they want the winning candidates and parties to address. We have gone around, talked to different groups on what they feel the issues that are emerging and they want the candidates and the parties to address. Of course, those sitting out there listening at home, again the number 33147669923351 if you have any questions for Sodalpa's Mr. Semesa Karavaki and NFP's Mr. Attar Singh. They are the two gentlemen on Straight Talk tonight. Any questions we will get you to ask, and of course I'm sure they will have all the queries addressed. Many people want to have a sense of ownership, Mr. Karavaki, and belonging in this country. That's one of the issues that has come up. What is your stand on a common name which is Fijian under the 2013 Constitution?
Thank you. I think our stand, Vijay, has been...
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan.
Our stand has been very well publicized. The party leader has been talking about it. We accept, that when we come to be a citizen of this country, there are different interests that we must also take into consideration. The indigenous people, those that had occupied this land from time that nobody can actually specify, and where do they come from, nobody actually can establish that, but they live on this land, and that is God's design and device for this country, because all races we have been designed and given a land to live and own, and that what we are pleading for, that must be acknowledged and respected.
So what is your stand on common name which is Fijian and it is stated in the 2013 Constitution?
Our position is what was in the 1997 Constitution, that Fijians is only for the indigenous people. Fiji Islanders was acceptable for all to be called as Fiji Islanders, for all that have been that have accepted Fiji to be their country and become a citizen of this country. That is our position.
Prime Minister Bainimarama made a statement today saying that people are saying Fijian is a name for indigenous Fijians, as people are saying, but the actual name is Viti, the country's name Viti, and that then people, indigenous people, should be referred as Vitians. This is about citizenship, and Fijian is for everyone, and that's his stand. What do you have to say to that? Why, according to him, why the separation that others cannot use this name?
If you use that word, Fijians had been accepted long ago. I ask again the question, why would one would like to change it now? Because that had been established long ago that Fijians only referred to the indigenous people, to the native. Why would one want to change that now? And we can't keep on playing with words, because that will bring confusion to everybody.
There's another issue that's coming up, that it's an anglicized word anyway. It's not an Itoke or indigenous Fijian word anyway, the word Fijian.
That's what I'm saying. We can keep on arguing which is the right word, but let's accept it. That's what had been accepted. Let's
so your stand
everybody.
Is
Yes.
It's only for the indigenous Fijians.
Yeah, for the indigenous Fijians, and Fiji Islanders, for everybody. That had been well accepted before. Why change that? Why disturb, the situation that had been accepted by everybody? That will only cause confusion, Vijay.
Thank you, Mr. Karavaki. Now with Mr. Attar Singh, National Federation Party, what is your stand on common name which is already Fijian in the 2013 Constitution?
Well, firstly, Vijay, the 2013 Constitution is a document that's been imposed on the people of Fiji, and we have already expressed our dissatisfaction with that. And as such, the imposition of the word Fijian as a common name is again an issue that falls under the imposition category. I know that our leader, when he was asked a similar question, the answer was that Fiji Islander was a common name. We've always had a common name. It's not as if Fijian is a common name for the first time given to all people of Fiji. All people of Fiji were given Fiji Islander as a common name. That was a common name until the change has been purported to bring about by the...
So what is your stand?
2013 Constitution. Our position is that it's imposed. It is not something where NFP has always been opposed to impositions. We have fought on positions, and we believe that this is a matter for parliamentary debate, and let the parliament decide what should be an acceptable common name for all our people moving forward. For now, to accept one or the other is going to only continue the current debate and the current feelings on both sides.
There's one issue
against.
that's coming up quite clearly, that people want to know the stand of each political party. Now, what is your stand?
Well, our stand is that
You have to go back to Parliament.
last legally accepted common name was Fiji Islander. That was the last accepted position. To change that, we would like to see Parliament discuss it and decide as to what should be the common name. And if it was to be Fijian, decide by next Parliament, well, so be it.
But under the Constitution, any changes, you need 75% of the support of Parliament and 75% of the support of registered voters. So you'll take the whole process through in that form?
That's the effort we have to make. Otherwise, both sides of the debate will have to live with what the current term is. So those of us who are seeking change will have to seek the change through the parliamentary process, and we hope that we can build consensus around a common name that can be adopted by consensus for the country for the future.
Mr. Karavaki, you'll go through the same process, 75% support of Parliament, 75% support of registered voters in the country if you want to make the change?
Understandably, Vijay, that is quite difficult, to achieve that. But there is another alternative, and I think we will have to explore that.
What's that alternative?
That alternative, we will seek a declaration, because all parties, as I understand, we are going into these elections under protest, not actually accepting the 2013 elections. We are being engaged because we want democracy to again rule over Fiji, and we will seek a declaration, from the Supreme Court about the legality of this constitution, and we'll take it from there.
How soon will you do that?
As soon as Totalpa goes into government after the 17th.
That is the first item on your agenda.
That's right, as far as I'm concerned.
We'll take a short break and be right back. We have a few technical problems as far as the phone lines are concerned, but you can call on 3314-766, 9923-351, 9923-352. The two gentlemen in studio tonight, Mr. Semesa Karavaki, Sodelpa candidate, and Mr. Attar Singh, candidate for National Federation Party.
Jarvis, status report.
I'm sorry, sir. We've lost auxiliary power. Shutdown sequence initiated.
Don't do this to me, Jarvis. Just a little further.
Negative, sir. My components are old and out of date.
Oh, come on, man. Where am I supposed to get quality computer components from then?
Go to Bondwell, sir.
Jarvis? Jarvis!
Bondwell, Fiji's #1 in IT. Quality IT products, laptops, smartphones and accessories. Looking to build your own computer? See Bondwell for all your part requirements. We also stock security cameras, power protection, printers and so much more. Bondwell, Fiji's #1 in IT.
Your election pre-polling venues on Monday the 8th of September 2014.
Vakaundobe Province, Nakarambo, Paviuni Correction Center Prison Hall, and Ndawa from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Watulele and Mbalmbale, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tabiang Hall in Rambi, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Keka in Wailevu, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Vuandomo, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Madhuata Province, Inandongo from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. RFMF Golf COY 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Valovoni 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Bua Province, Namua Voivoi 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
The 2014 general elections. My elections, my Fiji.
Fascinate me. Your beauty is beyond compare. Nowhere in the blue Pacific will you find islands so fair. Green waters kiss the golden beaches. Moonlight turns the night to day. Trade winds whisper to the palm trees. This is the land of Isolé. At dusk, the throng of a lolly drifts soft as a lost wave in flight. Oh, tell me who you are holding out there in the warmth of the night. Oh, Fiji, isles of enchantment. There never was a sky so blue. Fiji, how you fascinate me. I guess I've lost my heart to you. I guess I've lost my heart to you.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with VJ Narayan, brought to you by Bonwell.
Good evening. On Straight Talk tonight, we have National Federation Party candidate Attar Singh and SODELPA candidate Mr. Semesa Karavaki. We go straight to the lines. We have Ali from Dombati calling. Ali, good evening.
Why is SODELPA practicing discriminatory practices with respect to the name? Fijian is suitable, appropriate for everyone, and I don't see any problem with that.
Mr. Karavaki?
Thank you, Vijay. We talk about discrimination all the time. When somebody comes up with an assertion like that, the others will say it's discrimination. I don't see that as discriminatory, because if I call somebody, the Indian man came here, that is not discriminatory.
According to you?
Because you are explaining who is that.
According to you?
Yeah, that's the way I look at it, because it was not discriminatory before when everybody was called Fiji Islanders, when the Fijians were called Fijians, the native, and now we say, okay, we want that name also, and we are certain, we say, no, that name belongs to the native. We have to properly identify, everybody. The Fiji Islanders name was for everybody, and it's not discriminatory. That's the way I look at it. Because if somebody asks me, hey, somebody came here, who came over here? Was this Indian man?
Well, there's one issue over here where people are saying this is about citizenship, not race, not ethnic groups. That if you're a citizen of Fiji, you will be a Fijian.
Why we cannot be a citizen in Fiji Islanders? That's the question I've been asking, Vijay, because Fijians have been there, from the time that we cannot really, put a date to, although people are trying to understand when the Fijians were first settled.
So you're just saying, SODELPA, the stand is clear, you'll go in the direction that you've already stated.
Yes, and I don't see that is discriminatory.
Now, Mr. Attar Singh, what is your stand on a secular state?
Fiji has always been a secular state. NFP supports that, and NFP will continue to support that, and will oppose any attempts to change that status quo.
Okay. Mr. Karavaki?
SODELPA, we do not agree with the secular state. You see, if Attar says that Fiji has been always a secular state, but there was an understanding that there in the constitution that it was the Christian principles that were being followed. Okay? You see, secular state comes from the understanding whereby man assumes his right and ability to create things that would be better for themselves. The social good is now rest in individuals, and that allows the government to legislate those rights, and empower itself with it. Because as a Christian, Vijay, we look at that is an opposition to God's values. Because this is an example. In this constitution, the government had already entrenched over here legislation in the constitution itself, the policies whereby they can use the land, to accommodate the rights over here without asking for the owners, because they have put it over here in the legislation. And that in itself, what man sees that as good, we can look at it too. That is stealing, because if I take something from you.
Okay, we're going on to the land issue here. Let's go back to the secular state.
No, this is secular state principle, Vijay.
Yeah, well, no, I'm asking you. Okay, let's. Mr. Singh says we've always been a secular state. That one religion is not forced over another person who has another religious belief. You were saying no, Christian beliefs are paramount in this case. Now, how can you force that over other people who are not Christians, Mr. Karavaki?
See, this is not principles that differentiate Christians from any other religion, because these are universal values. No, the values that I can't go and grab your things without asking you. Those are values that I'm talking about, the Christian values. And we all embrace that. We don't allow stealing, we don't allow murder for me to go and kill somebody. Those are the values that I'm advocating here.
Okay, let's ask you both from NFP and SODELPA. I'll start with NFP. Under the 2013 Constitution, religious liberty as recognized in the Bill of Rights is a founding principle of the state. Religious belief is personal. Do you agree to that? Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Karavaki?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Religion and the state are separate.
Yes. Yes, they are separate.
Which means the state and all persons holding public office must treat all religions equally. NFP?
Of course.
SODELPA?
Yes.
The state and all persons holding public office must not dictate any religious belief.
Absolutely.
SODELPA? The state and all persons holding public office must not dictate any religious belief.
All right, that's fine.
That's fine. The state and all persons holding public office must not prefer or advance by any means any particular religion, religious denomination, religious belief or religious practice over another or over any non-religious belief. Mr.
It's a principle of the state being neutral.
Yes.
It is all right.
That's all right. No person shall assert any religious belief as a legal reason to disregard this constitution or any other law. Mr. Singh.
Well, I mean, I have no problem with that. It's possible some faiths may have.
Okay.
Beg your pardon, can you repeat that?
No person shall assert any religious belief as a legal reason to disregard this constitution or any other law.
Is that talking about belief or values?
It's talking about belief.
Belief.
Religious belief, not values.
You see, that's what I'm talking about, Vijay. You are suppressing the belief of anybody.
Yeah, but this is the constitution of the land, or any constitution of the land. You can't say, oh, my religious belief says I can go and kill someone, so I won't follow what's in the constitution.
And that's what I've been saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That that means that people cannot use that as a ground to say I will not follow the constitution.
No, of course you can't. From the outset, that's what I'm saying. That if
so
you have Christian
what part
principles,
of this section? I mean, I read through the secular state. You agreed to that. Now, which part of this issue you having a problem with?
No, you talk about that. See, that is all right. We're talking about, because that's a relationship that we have. Each because our own separate
but this
religion.
is a document, Mr. Karavaki.
Yeah.
The actual things that I've read to you is in the actual document, the 2013 Constitution.
See, what we are talking about here, what I'm saying, Vijay, is the absence of articulating the values that must be followed or embraced in the Constitution. And that values carries on to accommodate all those interrelations that section talks about.
Okay, so what values are you talking about?
The Christian values.
So put Christian values in the Constitution.
That's right.
Mr. Singh, do you agree to that?
I dispute. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Karavaki when he says that, I think he gave the example of values when he gave the example of stealing, right, earlier on, in one of the earlier questions, that was a Christian value. I think that's universal value. Right. It comes not only from Christianity, it comes from Hinduism, from Islam, from every other religion. So it's not necessarily a Christian value.
But Mr. Karavaki said you put Christian values in this section.
No, I disagree with that.
You disagree with that?
I disagree with that.
Okay. So if for some reason SODELPA goes in and NFP is also in Parliament, you will oppose that?
Of course, it will have to be a metaphor discussion debate. As I said earlier,
people waiting out there would want to know what is NFP stand if it does go to Parliament.
I've stated that very early that we will oppose any attempt to dilute the secular state.
Thank you very much. We have Filippo from Bar calling. Good evening, Filippo.
Forming the next government, are we going to go or push for the Sunday ban?
What do you think, Sunday ban. Filippo from Ba is asking, will you push for Sunday ban if you go in?
Sunday ban in what sense? To stop everybody from working on Sunday?
That's right, as we had previously.
You know, if you follow the values that I'm talking about, Sunday is not even the Sabbath.
That's your personal
of Christian. It is Saturday. That's why I'm saying, you know, we have to look at the values, and I don't think that we will do that. We will do that to put a ban on Sunday.
So what would you do for Saturday then?
Huh?
What would you do for Saturday if you're saying the Sabbath is on Saturday?
That's a matter for everybody to have in their own personal conviction. You know, to come and understand. If I come and understand, oh, the Saturday is the true Sabbath. And there's a personal conviction individually for somebody to make a decision on that. And you don't impose it, you know, on people.
So why impose Christian values in the secular state section then?
Because it's good for everybody.
So
it brings peace
do
to
one
everybody,
but not do the other?
It's a principle, Vijay, that is good for everybody, but it's a personal choice for them to, you know, I can't come to you and say, see, look, Vijay, I want you to come and observe the Sabbath. You have to understand whether it's right or wrong and make your personal decision. That's the freedom you have.
As you would say, that you are saying Sabbath is on a Saturday, others believe Sabbath is on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. There are different understanding unless people come and understand what is the truth.
So no Sunday ban from your side?
No.
What about NFP side?
Oh, we were opposed in 87, we were opposed any other time.
Now Mosese from Nosori, good evening Mosese.
The Fiji First Party, the symbol that I'm using, which is the official government logo, I suppose, is it correct for Fiji First to use that logo as the symbol?
NFP?
Our view is that it should not have been used by Fiji First as a symbol, and I think we objected to that. Unfortunately, there was a clarification that was given by the regime that they are not using the symbol, and they've gone ahead. We would have preferred if they had used something else other than the parts of the Fiji flag.
Mr. Karavaki.
Yeah, that symbol belongs to the government. They are a party. They're not the government. They are a party. And they should not be using it.
We had sought clarification on that issue for our listeners, and it was stated that they are not using the full coat of arms. The full coat of arms is not being used. And the second issue, of course, is that they have just used part of it. So they made that quite clear, and they made their stand clear again when I think there was opposition or objections raised during the registration of the party. Now,
I think the issue is not as simple as that. I think the issue is that by deliberately using the Fiji flag as the symbol depicting it, the party is Fiji First is being deceptive. It is also being also misleading, because if you see all the materials, promotional material, everything, they're using the same symbol. It seems as if it's coming out from the government, as Mr. Karavaki said, when it's really it's a party. So I think there's a need for them to have the kind of separation.
People of Fiji do not know the separation between Fiji First and the government?
That's not. I mean, listen. It's not
no,
about
I'm asking the question now.
People of Fiji. People of Fiji ought not to be misled by such information. I think it's important for political parties who are responsible to behave in a certain way that no one is misled, even if
So you wouldn't want them to use that symbol?
Yes,
that
we would preferred it not to be the current symbol. Yes.
Mr. Karavaki?
You know, there's a general understanding, Vijay, anything about the government should only belong to the government, and nobody is allowed to use it. There is a general understanding, and there are some legislation that, that prevents that from being used for other purposes. And I believe, even though they are saying they're only using certain part of it, but that causes confusion, because people look at it, they don't go and look at it carefully and see what are the parts that are not included in there. But people look at it, it's a Fiji flag by the look of it.
So it's okay to use it on a tissue box or a t-shirt by business people, and it's not okay to use for political party?
You don't expect people on the street to...
Should you put some limitations on that? Are you saying
No.
there should be some limitation?
JVJ, you don't expect people on the street to get confused by looking somebody wearing a clothes, a t-shirt with a Fiji flag on it. You don't expect people to see that and expect them to get confused with it. But you expect them to get confused when they are political parties competing for voters. And the market is there, the people that you want, them to vote for you. And by looking at a political party using the government logos, they might think, oh, that's the government.
Yes.
That's the government. It's a political party. It's a government. We just vote for that one. So it's the confusion, it's the way the people think.
According to your assessment.
That's right, PJ.
So, according to my assessment too, I think, when Fiji First uses it, while Fiji First individuals are also running the government, then it is misleading.
Thank you very much. Hussein from Lami, good evening.
Yeah, my question is this, at the present government, when they took over from 2006, it has been 8 years. All these things they are saying now, why couldn't they fight for it from the 2006 or before that? Why are they bringing all these things at this time, when they had all the time after 2006 and before that? All these issues, why weren't they fighting it so hard from that time? That's my question for both of them.
Let's go there. Before 2006. He's asking before 2006. Why didn't you bring up these issues before 2006? Some of these issues that you
before 2006, the debate of secular state wasn't there. Before 2006, the issue of any party using the Fiji flag as a symbol was also not there. So it was that's a non-issue.
I think BJ, maybe he's saying why, when this happened in 2006, why we didn't object to it.
No, they're saying before 2006. Yeah. It's clearly stated there.
Okay, if it's before 2006.
For example, Sodelpa did not raise the issue that we should have Christian values and principles inserted in the Constitution.
Because we were quite content with the 1997 Constitution. We were quite content with that. Why should we raise anything else? We had accepted that.
You were content with the common name that you had at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll move on to Ayub from Lotoka. Good evening, Ayub.
What he says that if I come in the government, will he do any better than Benny Marama?
Mr. Singh, if you come into government, will you do better than Mr. Benny Marama?
Oh, definitely, my friend. Thank you for that question. I mean, if you think Mr. Benny Marama has done wonders, one has to only look at the developments that have been taking place, which have been only over the last 18 months, 24 months. The record of Benny Marama from 2006 onwards until that started has been quite dismal.
Mr. Karavaki.
Of course, we can do better than Benny Marama. But Marama now is using the government funds without anybody discussing about it. He's doing it on his sole decision, and that's why people are thinking that he's doing very well. We will do well because we will consult other people. So we will talk to people and that let the things be done to them, the things that they want. And we talk about, even now there is no system whereby we can check, how they've been using the government finance. We will do better because we will be accountable. There is no accountability now. There is no transparency now. And we will do better than him.
Now, of course, we'll get back to that issue on what you are proposing to do, some different areas. We will talk about that. But we've come to a segment towards the end of our segment where Mr. Attar Singh from NFP, what's your question for Sodelpa this evening?
I was going to ask Mr. Karavaki, my friend, we both have got proposals within our manifestos as to how we might reduce the cost of living. Ours is a straight-out reduction in VAT by 5%. I was wondering whether, if that were to be the proposal in Parliament by a party, whether that will be one that will have your support.
We are looking at it. You see, if at present the government is doing some projects that are being funded by the VAT being increased to 15%. And I understand your position. You look at it the other ways that money can be recovered. Sodelpa is looking at that. If that is giving us sufficient finance, then we will look at other areas to inject,
So you will not support the
money.
proposal?
We will have to look at it again. Look again, in the other areas, whether we will consider looking at the currency at the moment, which was devalued. How can we strengthen the currency again? There are quite a range of areas that we will have to look at.
Something that we can discuss. This is
Yes,
open mind.
that's something that we can discuss.
There's an open mind.
With an open mind.
Yes.
Mr. Karavaki, your question for NFP?
I don't have any question for.
No, that's the format. You have to ask a question.
At the moment, I don't have any question.
Quite
for that.
reserved at the moment. We'll take a short break and be right back on Straight Talk.
Question for Mr. Attar Singh. NSP is always
Jarvis, status report.
I'm sorry, sir. We've lost auxiliary power. Shutdown sequence initiated.
Don't do this to me, Jarvis. Just a little further.
Negative, sir. My components are old and out of date.
Oh, come on, man. Where am I supposed to get quality computer components from then?
Go to Bondwell, sir.
Jarvis? Jarvis!
Bondwell, Fiji's #1 in IT. Quality IT products, laptops, smartphones, and accessories. Looking to build your own computer? See Bondwell for all your part requirements. We also stock security cameras, power protection, printers, and so much more. Bondwell, Fiji's #1 in IT.
Vanuandomoni, vanuanda utale veya. Isa koviti, saiko ngako no salu salu. Veikana mandevi, ota ukena tu, sake muindi vie veisinga kevenga. Koviti, manu era sele mai. Erui kamida, ikau tatu mai nalangi. Koru indomoni, koba kadenu yao. Sengtale kila sai kona vanu mara. Wasa marabu aunda unanumi koyani auna mbalabu sasibi konda undi vitu konda bukeia abakarurungi yao isana kena tare imeno mukatunde Bota ira Ekamida na ke muirai rai Isa poviti Saiko kona tawa muile dabi Veikanda ungandevi Bota ukena tu Sake muindi vie Veisinga kedenga Koviti, kondau kotele sunaya longu. Sai koviti, kovanu andau domoni veya. Nadandra nisinga, enambara vivenu kubula. Sengania lira, wana totoka nino kubanua. Sengania lirawa na totoka ninongo wanuwa.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with VJ Narayan, brought to you by Bondwell.
Good evening. On Straight Talk tonight, we have National Federation Party candidate Attar Singh and Sodelpa candidate Mr. Semesa Karavaki. Any questions for them, you can call us on 3314-766, 9923-351, 9923-352, 773-4766, 773-0693. Now, moving on to the issue of cost of living. From December 2006 to December 2013, the Consumer Price Index rose by 44%. Prices have gone up by 44%. The factors for this increase in inflation is the devaluation of the Fiji dollar by 20%, world oil prices increasing by about 60%, New Zealand Dairy Price Index increasing by about 109%, taking into account the 20% devaluation, Australian wheat prices increasing by 105%, taking into account the 20% devaluation again. With this scenario, which is the actual scenario we're facing at the moment, NFP and Sodelpa, with this scenario, what can you do? Tell me two issues that you'll do immediately.
But two things that that NFP has already proposed to do straight away is to reduce value-added tax, to try and reduce cost of living, and we intend to do that by 5%. We have announced that NFP in government will reduce value-added tax by 5% from 15 to 10%. And the second thing that we intend to do is to review the duty on key items and see how much they can be reduced. So those are the two key issues that NFP is saying.
Mr. Karavaki.
Sodelpa is really serious. In the first steps that it will take, it will inject $50 million to reduce the cost of all these essential items that the people use every day. We understand that the people are going through hardship now. Before we look into those, reducing the cost of those things, of those items, essential items, we have to reduce those by injecting $50 million straight away to help the people who are facing hardship now.
Straight away, where will you get the 50 million? Have you figured it out?
Yes, the $50 million, unless this government use it all now before we come into government, is there.
You'll have to pull from somewhere. Where will you pull from?
You know, that's why I'm talking about, you know, Attar is talking about reducing the VAT. The government is getting VAT. You know, this year it expects to get about $1.5 million through VAT. Right. You know, through the 50%. And we understand that money is there. You know, so that we can use it straight away.
There.
Yes.
Now, that means some of the projects, other things may get affected?
We'll have to prioritize. We'll have to prioritize.
Okay.
We'll have to prioritize.
And this will happen straight away as you
That's right.
If you go into government?
Yes.
Now, there's an assessment, Mr. Attar Singh, that NFP, with a reduction of VAT from 15 to 10%, there will be a reduction in revenue by about $280 million. Initially. Now, with that effect, it is a large portion of government revenue definitely getting affected. People are saying, okay, consumption tax, so it will increase consumption based on items lower prices, but still there will be a reduction in the total revenue, the total figure. Where will you pick up the shortfall from?
It's, I mean, you know, more people are saying, and the fact is that VAT is a consumption tax, and that's how it works. The more people consume, the more people buy, the more people spend, the more tax comes in. And the rate of tax that's applied at any point in time, the lesser the level of taxation, the greater the spending. So that's how the consumption tax principle works. And we are saying that, yes, of course, I mean, there'll be an initial decline in the VAT income. That's understandable. But with the increase in spending and increased consumption, we are saying that we are looking at in collecting more at 10% value-added tax rate, you know, over 18 months, 2 years, than we would have at 15%, because at 15% things are more expensive, people aren't spending, and therefore you are actually collecting lesser revenue.
So that's based on the projections.
Based on projections. Yeah.
Now, what is your stand on personal income tax rates? I mean, some people are saying we will review it 2015, NFP stand. Sodelpa hasn't said much on personal income tax. Let's go there, because that's what, when people earn money, they get taxed, and of course that's the income tax threshold. If you're earning a certain amount, you don't get taxed income tax, personal income tax. Now, the personal income tax rate at the moment starts off with a threshold of $16,000. Really, people who pay who earn $16,000 or less, they don't pay personal tax. Now, will that change if Sodelpa forms the next government?
That is not too bad at the moment. You know, having that, you have to consider there are a lot of people now with, at poverty level, although they are working, receiving very less income. We will have to look at that, and if it is possible to increase the threshold, we'll do that. But we must understand that we will look at the earning power that they have, because the more that we put the earning power there to go above that, then they will get more people to pay.
So the people listening out there tonight,
yes,
what will you do? What will you do with the income tax threshold? You won't take it down. If anything would happen, you'll take it up.
That's right.
So it won't go below $16,000. Okay.
Considering the earning power that they have now, we will be talking about injecting $50 million to help them. If we reduce it, then people will suffer more.
Now I'm talking about tax rates in general now, income tax rates in general, 16,000 above the income tax rates that are set at the moment, at the different percentage levels that have been set. Will you review that?
We will accept what it is at the moment,
right.
As we come into government, and any change that will take place will happen after we have looked at the other aspect of it.
So you can't tell us now whether you will be changing any tax rates come 2015, 2016?
That we'll have to discuss about.
So no clear answer on that at the moment from Sodelpa?
What I can say now, Vijay, it is not bad as it is at the moment. If anything they have to change, we will not reduce it, we will increase it.
What about NFP?
Vijay, we have not said anything about increasing taxes. As far as we're concerned, the current $16,000 tax threshold is okay. We would, and I would personally like to see it increased to give relief to more workers. But there is a matter that will have to be reviewed. Once we're in government and once we're able to have a look at government finances properly. As you know, we don't have access to that kind of information. So that is not an issue that we can answer now. But for now, to answer the question as to whether or not we're going to increase taxation, the answer is no.
NFP leader was here a few days ago. He said 2015 onwards there will be a review done, especially for middle income earners, people who are earning $20,000 up, that there may be an option that taxes may go up.
I don't think my leader said that. I think NFP's leader has been talking about being not so happy with the last tax rate reduction, which allowed reductions in tax for people at very high income end.
Right.
And I think he was talking about people earning over $200,000 a year, not $20,000.
So not 20,000.
No.
So we're thinking of if you're thinking of NFP tax rate review, personal income tax rate review, it'll be for people earning $250,000 or more.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. There has been no discussion on that within the party. That is a matter that the leader has raised. Obviously, when we're in government and the matter is brought to discussion, it will be something around that level of income rather than the normal the lower levels of income.
So assurance tonight that you won't have any sudden changes on a personal income tax rate.
Absolutely.
At which you are a workers members rep, and you have said no to that, of course.
I think you can rest assured I will be the strongest voice opposing.
Now, what about national minimum wage rate? Mr. Karavaki, it's $2 an hour at the moment. What is Sodelpa's stand on this?
we look at that as too small and too low for the workers. We will look at it and see how possible it can be, to increase that minimum wage. You talk about somebody getting only about $80 a week. That's miserable. That's miserable. We will look at increasing it so that people can have more income.
So
we will look at look at productivity.
To what level?
We will have to look at it, and assess and look at all the other aspect of it, Vijay. But we are saying at this moment that $2.50.
It's $2 at the moment.
This $2 is too low. Too low. People are suffering because of that.
Now there's a suggestion that if you increase it quite high, above $2, that some small businesses would get affected. What's your view on that? If some small businesses do get affected?
Yeah, that's what we have to look at it. We have to try to boost all these small businesses, because these are the small businesses who are the engine, for the economy. We really have to see how the government can assist them, because.
But you can't give us a clear indication at the moment. What would be the new rate if the SODELPA party forms the next government?
Oh, I can't give that at the moment, Vijay. We will really have to look at the others, look at the businesses, talk over these matters with them, because this is a matter that we have to discuss all, because we can't impose on these small businesses. Talk about these things with them and see how we can create.
SODELPA candidate Mr. Semesa Karavaki. Now on to National Federation Party candidate Mr. Attar Singh. Your stand on national minimum wage rate. It's $2 an hour at the moment. What will you do with that?
Well, Vijay, to start up with the rate of $2 an hour, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's not a wage that should have ever been announced by this government. If we want to pay our workers a decent wage, we must take time and do a proper survey and make sure that what we pay our workers earns them a living. The $2 minimum wage, let me tell you, falls about $2.36 and $2.36 an hour short of the minimum wage that was recommended by Pricewaterhouse PwC survey in a job evaluation that was conducted, in which I was involved, where the unskilled rate was recommended to be $4.36 an hour, and that was some years ago. Now, what that says is that the unskilled minimum wage rate needs to be reviewed very quickly. That is something that our NFP and government will do pretty quickly as well. I take the point that we ought to be cautious that wage rates don't push business out of business. But at the same time, I think also we also need to see that business who operate on such low paltry wages, that kind of business ought to start thinking whether they should be in that kind of business at all. Wage rates paid to people must be realistic. They must be able to afford a decent living, and if they can't, then such businesses.
What would be a realistic wage rate?
As I give you an example of $4.36 an hour, so you're looking at anything between $4 to $5 an hour for unskilled workers.
Those businesses who cannot afford it?
Well, I mean, these things, when the rates are decided at any point in time, they are not just decided and imposed. Obviously, there need to be consultation between the employer groups and worker groups, and the idea would be to try and come at a consensus so that eventually and progressively we can reach a realistic level living wage.
Ravi from Lautoka has a question. Good evening, Ravi.
Question for Mr. Attar Singh. NFP has always fought for one man, one vote. In 50 years of parliamentary, they fought for this but haven't been able to achieve this. Now it's been given to us. Why does NFP have a problem with this?
Mr. Singh?
Thank you, my friend. We don't have a problem with one man, one vote.
So you're happy with what's in the 2013 constitution?
We're happy with one man, one vote.
Although you're saying the constitution is imposed on the people?
Well, we are saying constitution is imposed, of course. I mean, doesn't mean good things are imposed, so therefore you accept it. I mean, what we're saying is that one man, one vote principle is what we're happy with. It has been imposed together in the constitution with many other things which are not acceptable. So that is not a reasonable question to ask. I answered the question saying that we we agree with the principle of one man, one vote, and we live with it.
Mr. Karavaki from Sodelpa, one man, one vote. You happy with that?
I don't see a problem with that one man, one vote. Probably this is talk about when there was a communal and open, a person will have to cast 2 votes. One man, one vote. It's just for everybody.
Thank you very much. Khan from Nandi, good evening.
Extra ballot papers was printed and ballot box was open. It is true because you are in charge of the election office.
Mr. Karavaki, that's a question for you. 2006 elections, that there were extra ballot papers printed, and you were in charge of the elections in 2006. Can you shed some light on that?
Thank you very much for that question. That in any elections where we have the last electoral system that we had in 2006, no one can avoid that there will always be the printing of ballot papers that is more than the number of registered voters, because you would know the number of voters that would turn up at any particular polling station. So you must have a certain percentage of the of the ballot papers that is more than the number of registered voters. Not like the one we have now, where we have designated polling station, where you would have the exact number of voters that are required to attend a particular polling station. And now you can print exactly the number of ballot papers that is according to the number of registered voters. But this is a different system, not like the system we had before. Because say if you are in a polling station, VJ, and all of a sudden there is a mass, a large number of voters that come there all of a sudden, and the number of ballot papers that you have there is not enough. You're going to get it from somewhere. That's why we always have excess of ballot papers in how you operate it. But the important thing is to make sure that you record. The record of ballot papers is properly, audited, and make sure that they are properly used, so that nobody would suspect that there is any wrong thing being done.
Mr. Karavaki, just going on to that, because you know clearly that there was a report that came out in 2007, and of course at that time the Finance Ministry did an audit, and the then interim Finance Minister, Mr. Mahendra Chaudhary, had come out with a comment. And I'd like you, because listeners are interested in that, definitely this is an issue that has come up, and that is the last election that we've had. Since then we haven't had an election. The audit by the Finance Ministry said more than 650,000 unused ballot papers printed for the 2006 general elections were missing. In a press statement at the time, this is May 2007, Interim Finance Minister Mahendra Chaudhary said this was proof that there was a direct attempt to interfere with the results of the 2006 elections. He said the report found that the Elections Office failed to keep a diligent record of ballot papers issued to polling stations, or to ensure that proper returns were filed by every returning officer at the end of the polls. The audit report also revealed that close to 1.985 million ballot papers were printed against a total of 842,594 votes cast, more than double the requirement. Chaudhary said that these are very serious breaches of the Electoral Act. He says they are tantamount to gross dereliction of duty, if not direct attempt to interfere with the results of the election. He said the report found the Supervisor of Elections Office guilty of wastage, failure to keep within budgetary allocation, failure to return equipment, failure to submit proper reports of funds. He said he had handed over the report to FICAC. Now, according to Chaudhary, a detailed audit of ballot papers was impossible because the Elections Office, and this is where you can clarify for our listeners, did not keep a record of ballot papers issued to each polling station. Did you keep a record of ballot papers issued to each polling station in 2006?
Of course, Vijay. The paper trail must be very clear where all the ballot papers. We're talking about elections here, where people would be suspicious of any wrongdoing if we don't do that. the record must be intact, where you can follow the ballot papers, where it goes and when it comes back, and where the ballot papers are to be stored when they are not used. And I don't agree with that.
So this Finance Ministry audit saying that it did not keep, Elections Office did not keep a record of ballot papers in 2006 issued to each polling station. You had a record?
We had a record.
Where is that record?
The record was the record was with the Elections Office. See, when they came, they asked for specific things that they would like to have a look at. We provided all those things to them. When they don't come back, when they have queries, when they don't come back to seek for more information, that's the problem. When the problem arises, they go to the conclusion and make the report. When they don't come and make, further inquiries to say, well, I don't see this. Where do you have it? We can easily provide them with those information.
So you had it there. Now, the other issue, that you failed to maintain a master record of ballot papers against which reconciliation could be carried out of used, unused ballot papers.
We have all those, Vijay.
You had it. Did not carry out a reconciliation of used and unused or spoiled ballot papers after the election as required under the Electoral Act.
We have all those. That's why we always have to keep all those in a place, because if somebody challenges a result, and those are the records that we always fall back on, to bring back so that it can be looked upon, to verify all those things.
The Finance Ministry did not get a copy of that, or how did it not work out that they came up with this conclusion in May 2007?
I guess probably they're just looking in the wrong place.
Now, it's also stated here in that audit report, the final one, that the Elections Office burnt a large quantity of allegedly spoilt and unused ballot papers, which was in direct breach of the Electoral Act. Explanations for this misconduct was administrative error.
I'm really not aware of that. You see, this is the problem, Vijay, because those things were not even raised with me, and now I'm being written down. For me to clarify all those things. They were not even raised with me.
They were not raised with you?
No, not even.
So when
to
the
my
Finance
knowledge.
Ministry audit came out, nobody contacted you? Has FICAC ever contacted you, or is it audit out and we need to find out what's going on?
FICAC did talk to me.
Right.
And you know what they said? The Ministry of Finance had been pressurizing us to continue with the investigation to find something wrong with the election, with the electoral process, to find something wrong with you. But they said, we can't find anything wrong. We have told the Minister of Finance we can't waste the government resources to continue to conduct this investigation, knowing that there is not going to be anything for us to find. See, I think this is a personal problem.
It's good that you have cleared the air about this, and of course there's something to look at. The other issue was the EU report that keeps coming up, and I'll ask NFP too, because NFP also contested the elections, that some, for example in Takhaundrove, a EU report came out saying there was a voter turnout of 101%, and said they were baffled by how this could be achieved. When the ballot papers were counted, they were over the number of people that had registered to vote in that constituency. How did that happen? The EU stated that in the report. It's on the record. You would have read that report. How is that possible?
This is when the workers, the electoral officials, did not administer properly, the boundary. The boundary where the communal, the two communal boundaries are, or the communal in the open. When one communal goes out to the other side to go and vote on the other side, that's why the numbers, had passed.
So you admit that there was extra number of people who voted in that constituency?
Yes, Vijay. But the law says, when you look at those errors and you calculate and you assess all those numbers, if it is possible to make, to cause the change in the result. No, the law contains the provision. If it is possible that the number will change the result, then the decision must be made, for another election to be carried out in those two constituencies.
It certainly created doubt in the minds of people when the report came out with such findings.
Yeah, but you see, the numbers that came from the other constituency was well known. And the Electoral Commission then looked at it because there was, a cause, for dispute, to be brought up, and the Electoral Commission had a look at it, and they saw that the number would not eventually
not affect the change.
To change the result.
At the time, the Commission decided that.
Yes, that's
now,
right.
Mr. Attar Singh, your party was part of the 2006 elections. Of course, there's issues being raised in the audit report and in the EU report of things not going well. What is NFP's assessment on it?
Well, the audit report that you just read, I think that was publicized in 2007 sometime.
Yes.
We all wondered, whole of Fiji wondered, what happened to the audit report and what happened to the complaints that were made to the authorities for investigation. Nothing came out of it. Now, from that, I think we can all reasonably assume that the audit report, the findings and the recommendations were not with proper basis. And I think Mr. Karavaki has just confirmed what actually happened there. On the issue of 101% votes, no elections are perfect. We all got to understand that.
So you'd admit, you admit if there is 100% voter turnout?
No. 101% voter turnout could be one extra voter over 100 votes in one polling station. Right? So the absolute numbers and the percentages, sometimes these things do create a wrong impression. I think what we need to do is we all sensible enough to recognize that if the number of voters that is in play is likely to change the outcome, the results, then of course that is serious. That is not to say that proper records must not be maintained, and that there is not to say that every effort must be made to make sure that everything is perfect.
Okay. Now, just my final question. Those ballot papers, just for people who would want to know, they are saying that 650,000 unused ballot papers were missing. You still had it at the elections office?
It should be there.
Unused?
It should be there. You see, the problem, Vijay, I was the first one to be removed over there. I was the first civil servant to be removed. So I was denied that opportunity, that opportunity to clarify all those things, to tell them where these ballot papers were being kept.
And how come you had 101%?
That's right.
Turnout?
I was not given an opportunity to explain all these things. And there was a general perception by the people because those that came in, to take over the government had to use that, as a reason for coming in to take over the government. And I was not given the chance to explain that.
Thank you very much. We have a caller from Lami. Kamal, good evening.
Yeah, my question to both of the gentlemen, how are we going to solve the problem with LTAs? Everywhere you go there, LTA is there. They're giving the defective orders. How are you going to solve that problem? Thank you.
Mr. Singh from NFP, how will you solve the issues regarding LTA, which Kamal is raising?
Yeah, thank you, Kamal. LTA has been a concern to us. Many voters like you have raised their concerns regarding LTA and the operations with us. People are complaining about the way LTA sets up roadblocks. People have complained to us about the way LTA seems to be deliberately booking people just in an attempt to try and secure fines. Now we have seen this, and we also know everyone in NFP is also a driver, so people know and have experienced themselves firsthand how LTA's operations seem to be conducted. We in our manifesto, Kamal, are saying, and I think you'll be relieved with this, we are saying that whilst LTA has been putting people and vehicles out of the road, the NFP government will put LTA out of the road, which means that LTA will no longer have any presence on the roads of Fiji under NFP government. LTA's role will be confined to administration of the land transport laws and regulations, and the policing of our roads and laws will be returned to the police force of Fiji. Insofar as LTA's regulations and fees and fines are concerned, we have already said that we will remove what is known as the road user levy, and at the same time we will also move forward and reduce the fines in many other areas, because we see those fines as being too high, very, very high, given the income levels of our people.
How soon will you do that?
That is the issue on the priority list for NFP. It is coming up in almost every meetings, Vijay, particularly in the rural areas, very much in the rural areas, and it is an issue that will need our urgent attention.
Mr. Karavaki, what will Sodelpa do?
I'm very grateful for the explanation that has been given by Attar Singh, because that is exactly the way it was to be. Now what the Land Transport Authority is doing now, they're doing something that they're not supposed to do. See, I drafted that law, and that is exactly what it's supposed to do. Now they are harassing everybody on the road. You see, I just came back from Nandi, and I was stopped by the LTA over there near Natandola, not the road that goes down to Natandola. And I was stopped there, and I asked the officer, why are you stopping me? Because basically when we put together this, they were supposed to understand what is wrong with the vehicle before they stop it. They should not stop it without anything at all. You know, by looking at the vehicle, they should know, oh, this vehicle, something wrong with it, I better stop it. But now, they stop every vehicle that comes in, and they create congestion on the road. You know, Sodelpa
what will you do?
Will take immediate step to address that and make sure.
How will you do
they make sure they do according to what they're supposed to be doing. They advise people to pay their wheel tax, not to drive unlicensed vehicle on the road. You know, and go around and, you know, and don't just stop people like this to find out and then read the wheel tax on this stick on the screen. You know, by stopping the people. You know, they should do that in a way that don't unnecessarily disturb people, you know, by driving on the road.
We have a question from Pacific Harbour. Good evening, Diana.
Bulavinaka to you, Mr. Karavaki and Mr. Attar Singh. My question to both of you is, would you be able to bring back the Ngolingoli bill when you come into Parliament? Vinaka.
The NFP is opposed to Ngolingoli bill, and that is the position that NFP had articulated, although we were not in Parliament in the 2006 Parliament when the bill was brought about. The Ngolingoli bill is not an issue at this point in time, although I understand that the Sodelpa leader has raised it as a proposition when they come back into Parliament. It will be a matter for us to see when we're in Parliament as to what form or shape it takes when it is brought back to Parliament.
Sodelpa?
Our position is clear, Vijay. We will bring it back. We will bring it back. We may relook at it, you know, in a different way that it had been, you know, in the past, that people know about it. We will bring it back, you know, to ensure that the ownership is properly vested in the owners.
In what way will it come back if Sodelpa does bring it back?
We really have to look at it, because I haven't seen it myself, what it was before, Vijay. Obviously, we'll have to look at it, but the objective is to vest the ownership, you know, in the owners, and have a law that properly control its usage. So everybody can use it, but have it properly regulated so that people do not abuse it. You know, the principle of ownership. That everybody knows about the law. The law is there. We all know how we can use it. But now, you know, if you come to a place to Ngolingoli, you would know what the Ngolingoli owner will come and demand from you. But if you have a law that everybody knows about it, you know, it creates the basic understanding in everyone how it's going to be used.
The NFP is saying if you do bring something like that, of course, Ngolingoli bill that was proposed earlier, it will not support it. Would you still go ahead if other parties don't support it?
No, I think they probably will come in and say, okay, let's have a look at it. We might
think that way.
You might see in the way that, you know, the Sodelpa is trying to put it through.
No, what I said was the NFP had opposed the last Ngolingoli bill, and we were also aware that the last Ngolingoli bill also went to the Parliamentary Sector Committee, and then it was voted down very much. You know, but by the time it went back for final reading, the military intervened. The point that must be made, Vijay, that when the political parties ought to also become a little bit more responsible when we propose this kind of legislation, particularly the Ngolingoli bill when it came about in 2006. There was a very, very, very huge publicity about it, and opposition to it as well in many areas. And I think, when we want to talk about bringing Golingoli bill or such legislation, it's important for us to articulate exactly what we want to do, so that we can have a proper debate. At the moment, Sudalpa is only saying it will bring it back. They're not sure what shape or form it will take. So it is impossible to debate or to discuss the issue in a hypothetical sense. So, I mean, we are saying that we know what it was last time. We opposed it. If we're in Parliament, any party in Parliament, in government, if they're in government, they'll be able to bring back bills, and we in Parliament will look at it and then deal with it at the time.
Now, we have a caller from Wailoku, Sekisi. Good evening.
Mr. Karavaki, I understand that you are against a secular state. Now, if government were to declare Fiji a Christian state based on Christian values, how would you satisfy all denominations within Christianity? Given you are a Seventh-day Adventist, and I believe there are members of the Catholic and Methodist faith within Sudalpa, how will you give one denomination dominance?
Thank you very much for that question. I am saying that the Christian values that are common to all of us, that's the one that we have to embrace. I'm sure that we all agree that there should not be any stealing, there should not be any murder. But we do not agree on the day of worship, because there are the denomination that worship on Saturday and on Sunday. That is a matter of individual choice. It is not a value itself that I'm talking about. Do not murder, do not like that. It is a day of worship. That's what I'm talking about. And people have a choice, to choose the day you worship. But you don't have a choice about murder. You don't have a choice about.
But isn't that already in the laws of the country that you cannot do that?
It's maybe reading over there, Vijay. You see, the Constitution itself is embracing stealing. The Constitution itself that's why it's a bad Constitution. It's embracing stealing.
Well, that's your assessment.
Yes,
based on your assessment.
That's why I'm saying, when you look at the Christian values, it is good for everybody, because if you steal, and the Constitution itself is embracing that, it will create dissension, problem among people.
Now, let's go there. Itoke land. We have had a lot of discussion on that in relation to how Itoke land is protected. According to the government that has come out with the constitution, it says that the Itoke land is protected, and that it's covered under section 28 of the constitution, and it's the section deals with protection of Itoke, Rotuman and Banaban land. The ownership of all Itoke land shall remain with the customary owners of that land, and Itoke land shall not be permanently alienated, whether by sale, grant, transfer or exchange, except to the state in accordance with section 27. Section 27 deals with compulsory acquisition order, where the state, if the state has to use certain facilities for state purposes, for public purposes, then a compulsory acquisition order is taken, and that is something that was already in place in other constitutions. So section 28(1) says you cannot do that except for compulsory acquisition order. Any Itoke land acquired by the state for a public purpose after the commencement of the constitution or under any written law shall revert to the customary owners if the land is no longer required by the state. Now, any change to this constitution would require support of 75% of support of Parliament, 75% of support of registered voters in the country. What do you think of that? It's there.
You talk about the ownership, PJ?
Yeah, I'm asking about this, because you raised some issues about Itoke land ownership.
Yeah, it talks about ownership, but it does not talk about the usage.
Right.
It talks about ownership. It does not talk about consulting, the owners.
There is a land use decree which is in place, where if anyone wants to deposit land in the land bank under the land use decree, you need 60% of support from the landowning unit, the consent from the landowning unit. 60% of the landowning unit have to say yes, and then that land can be deposited in the land bank. And some people have gone for that option. What do you think of that?
That is right, BJ. But in the same decree, the owners are not allowed to even question, even later on, to negotiate or to talk about any condition.
So your issue is with the land use decree.
It is right, the land use decree, and also
what about the constitution?
And also the constitution.
So what part of the constitution in the Itoke land protection that do you have a problem with?
Vijay, you look at section 26.
Yep.
You look in section 26, subsection 8. Section 8, paragraph G. Do you have it?
Yep.
Section 26, subsection 8, paragraph G. This constitution has relegated the ownership, the communal ownership of land by the Tokay, the Rutuman, and the Banaban. Below.
Let's read this.
Yes.
A law or an administrative action taken under law is not consistent with the rights.
Not inconsistent.
Is not inconsistent with the rights mentioned in this section on the ground that it, to the extent necessary, without infringing the rights or freedoms set out in any other section of this chapter, gives effect to the communal ownership of Itoke, Rutuman, Banaban land, access to marine resources, or bestowing of Itoke, Rutuman, Banaban chiefly title or rank.
All right. You can make a law to govern the communal ownership of land, the Ngolingoli, and the titles under the structure of the Tokay, Rutuman, and Banaban. But that law must not infringe any rights under this chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights. You see? That's why I'm saying that the rights of indigenous people, ownership of land, had been relegated below. This is a group right, Vijay.
With the law, my question again, yes, coming back to it, with any law, if it's not the constitution, then when we ask the government, for example, if any party that forms the next government, if they do not want a law in place, they can revoke it. They've said it clearly. For example, the Essential National Industries Decree. We've asked about that some parties do not agree with these laws. Some parties do not agree with the Land Use Decree. That if the parties come in, if they form the next government, they have a choice. They can revoke it. They can repeal it straight away. That is not covered under the Constitution. What's covered under the Constitution is the general protection in clarity, the way it is covered. So what will SODELPA do? Will some of these laws that have been brought in, I know NFP is looking at revoking some. Which ones will you revoke?
In terms of
decrees.
Oh, we are talking about revoking a lot of
I'm sure the listeners would want to
worker decrees, amending some of them. We already in our manifesto we want to repeal the media industry decree, and several others, and Essential National Industries decree, and
so you revoke which ones?
The media industry development decree. We are revoking the Essential National Industries employment decree, and many others that deal with worker rights.
Worker rights.
Yes.
So you've got your. Which ones will you revoke?
We will look at the other decrees that affect the ownership of land, the structure of the NLTP. The land use decree. We talk about the decree for the native land.
We'll revoke all those.
We'll revoke all those decrees.
What about the one with equal distribution of land lease money, which is in place?
That decree too, we will have to relook at it, because it does not support the structure that is there in the indigenous people structure, the traditional structure. Although they're saying, this is equal distribution, it's equal to everybody, they're all the same. In the structure, we have obligations by the chiefs, to take care of, and they have the overall responsibility the reason why those distributions were there in the past.
So you'll bring it back to the old system where the chief gets more?
We have to relook at it again. You know, and
will you look at it again, or will you do it?
We will do it. We'll bring it back.
How soon?
As soon as all the power goes into the government.
No more equal distribution of land lease money.
We will follow what it was there before.
Thank you. Mr. Mbale of Naitasiri, good evening.
My question is on about land. The role of NLTB. I am confused as a voter. Some decrees have been put through have usurped the powers of NLTB. Does it mean that land, Fijian land, will now be looked after by politicians rather than NLTB looking after the interests of the Fijian landowners?
NFP?
Thank you. For the NFP, we are saying that we are concerned about many of the decrees and the changes that have been brought about regarding the Fijian administration. And we have said in our manifesto that within the first 100 days of NFP in Parliament, NFP in government, we will call for a meeting of all the chiefs, heads of boosters and so forth, and get them to discuss, what they think ought to be the necessary protections and necessary laws in place, and then deal with the recommendations that come out of that as a matter for parliamentary legislation making.
Thank you. So you leave it to these chiefs to make the final decision. Then you'll take your steps forward from there.
We will leave it to the heads of all the boosters and the chiefs to decide what they would like to have in laws before we bring about changes to the laws that we like to see made. So meaning that we will be acting very much in accordance with the recommendations that will be made by this.
What if they say they want the Golingoli bill back?
That's hypothetical.
What if they want the GCC back?
Well, I mean, whatever comes out, it'll thereafter be matter for parliamentary discussion. You see, Vijay, it's important for us to understand that we are living in a era of imposition, and many things that people are upset about is because of the impositions. If many of these things which people are not so happy about now had come about through discussion and parliamentary process and consensus building, people would learn to live with those things. So I think we are going back to parliamentary democracy. We are looking forward to the day, and I think we ought to now revert and start making rules and making laws in discussion and by consensus as much as possible.
Mr. Karavaki.
The NLTB, Vijay, has been existing for a long time. And I think what it should be to leave the NLTB as an independent body and not to be interfered with by politicians. We will make sure that happens. We'll make sure that the longevity, of the NLTB continues. We will make sure that there is no unnecessary interference because the NLTB has been doing a good work in the past years. We will only have to look at the other areas that we have to improve, to facilitate for investors in all those things. And it is totally unnecessary to set up another body like the land use.
One of the issues that came up was that the poundage fees was too high, administrative fees was too high through Itoke Land Trust Board, and that the land use decree was formed or it came into being because people wanted to move to take that option and look at ways where they could get market rental rates, and all the rental that they get, the landowners receive instead of getting any cuts before they get the money. What's your stand on that?
The most viable thing to do there, Vijay, is not to set up another rival body. The most viable thing is to look at the restructure, the reform of the LTB to address that concern, and to maximize the return that goes to the landowners.
So you will look at that.
Yes.
You'll just review the Itoke Land Trust Board and make further decisions from there.
That's right.
Now, on to the final question. We are just almost done with Straight Talk tonight here. The question of a coalition. Of course, everyone is talking about who they can work with, who they cannot work with. It's something that people are discussing. National Federation Party, of course, you're definitely going into the election. You're hoping that you win majority and form the next government on your own. Historically, statistically, this electoral system does not have an outright winner. It's confirmed by every country that has had this system. Now, would you be able to work with all parties that are contesting the elections in a coalition?
Well, firstly, I mean, we want to restate our position that we are contesting the elections alone, and we have transformed the party, the NFP, into a party that is today the most multiracial party in these elections. And we are now relying on our team, a very, very capable team, to be able to deliver to us what we plan to have as an outright win. That is what we are currently planning, and that's what we are seeking. And all our candidates and our NFP team is working to try and achieve that.
What if you don't get an absolute majority?
In the event that doesn't eventuate, Vijay, then the norm in any parliamentary system is that you try and form government with any other existing party that is in parliament. And which parties that the NFP will talk with or will not talk with will very much depend on who is standing and how strongly standing after the elections. So that is a question that cannot be answered at this stage. And of course also the issue of who is coming in with which kind of policies, what are the backgrounds of this party, is it a party born out of a coup, is it a party that supported a coup in the past? So to us as NFP, we're the cleanest party in this election. That's what we claim, and we really are, and it'll be very difficult for us to try and work with any other party given that image of ours. But if that is the outcome, if that is the outcome that the voters deliver, then we will have a responsibility to try and work with the political parties whose policies are similar or close to ours, and parties who are able to negotiate a working relationship without diluting the core of our manifesto.
Which parties would that be? Or definitely manifestos are out. You would have
no. We are still waiting for the manifesto of one party, and that is the Fiji First.
So you're still keeping that option open for any party?
Well, like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, people decide at the end of the election who they want to govern. And if the people don't deliver an outright verdict,
well, the people are listening out there. They would want to know whether you would be able to work with all the other parties to form a coalition if the need arises with any of the parties.
That's what I said. We will work with every party whose policies are similar and close to ours, and whose election results they are standing with strong enough numbers.
Some of the manifestos are out already. Which ones sort of stack up with you?
Well, I mean, there are parties which are talking about Bill of Rights and improvement of human rights and defending and promoting human rights. There are some parties that are obviously talking about that. We like that. So there are very obvious partners out there.
Which obvious? Who are these partners? Well, I mean, I'm sure the people listening out there would want to know, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, but I think it's a very hypothetical question. You see, you got to see who would be standing at the election. I mean, there are 6 or 7 parties contesting.
So you can work with any party? Maybe that's the best way to ask you, because you're saying we'll decide.
If we are able to see all the manifestos, then only we can make the choice.
Okay, so right now the door's open.
We'll want to look at all the manifestos before we can decide on a question like that.
What about SODELPA?
First of all, SODELPA, I must clarify this. We are also going to these elections on our own. We are not in coalition with anybody. And also, we are looking forward to September the 17th, that we will be, for the first time, if it hasn't happened anywhere in the world, I said, Vijay, it will happen here in Fiji, where SODELPA will win majority of the seats to form the government. But having said that, we have seen the differences, that there are some differences that we have, each political parties in our manifestos, which are quite, differences that we must subject that to negotiation if there is going to be a possible working together. And we know the spirit of working together is a spirit of understanding each other and agreeing on things, because if we don't agree, we will just have to destroy the very basis of coming together. That's why it's important. we will be looking at the other parties and see how we can come together on those issues that, that we are different on.
You can work with any party?
Again, if working together with any party will bring stability and peace to this country, of course we will, we will take it. Is our concern is, the peaceful and living together in harmony in this country.
You have clear opposing policies with one party, the Fiji First.
That's right.
What if we end up with a situation that you may have to end up in a coalition agreement with that party?
With Fiji First?
Yes.
With the Fiji First, the differences is so wide that nobody can cross over. It is not possible. Because if we work together, how can you build up something on a basis that is so contrast? You will just destroy each other, and the country will not benefit from it.
Any other party apart from them?
And we will have to, to look at the other parties, although it is obvious the differences that are there. But it is a subject for negotiation.
About NFP?
Yeah, including NFP, we really have to look at that. You see, I think the SODELPA and the NFP and the Labour Party, they have been discussing and look at this. But that is an ongoing thing. How it can happen is something that they have to continue to discuss and have a look at.
SODELPA, this is what Mr. Chaudhry said when he came here. He proposed that you contest the elections together, SODELPA, NFP and Labour. And he said that SODELPA and NFP said no to that. Why?
Well, it's obvious. The supporters out there is what we listen to. We can't just destroy their trust, by merging something that is they don't understand why it's happening. There must be proper discussion on that. The people should know why certain things are happening. But that is not possible because people out there, they would not understand why it's happening.
Well, I think Mr. Chaudhry was referring to the discussions within the United Front for Democratic Fiji. Firstly, I think it's important to correct that the UFDF was a loose coalition of SODELPA, NFP and Labour and FICTU as a trade union
Yes,
organization.
but Mr. Chaudhry had said, Mr. Chaudhry clearly said that this was a plan that he had proposed, that let's go to the election together.
Yes,
NFP,
I'm coming to it.
SODELPA and Labour.
Yes, I'm coming to it. And I was there in those discussions. So I know what Mr. Chaudhry could be referring to. It was correct that he had proposed it, and the idea was rejected by NFP and I think also by SODELPA, because the UFDF wasn't formed for the purpose of contesting elections. UFDF was formed for the purpose of jointly arguing the restoration of democracy. Now that is to set up the framework to restore democracy, rather than talking actual electoral policies, which is what campaigns and elections are all about. So we thought that the work of the UFDF had come very much to an end once the country was going towards elections, and the work of, and it was decided that the parties must contest elections on their own, and thereafter decided what should happen after elections. So that's where we are.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attar Singh from National Federation Party and Mr. Semesa Karavaki of SODELPA, two candidates in the 2014 general elections. Of course, we are in the month of elections. Straight Talk tonight, we are finishing off, and we will give you an update on who's appearing tomorrow night. We're trying to get a confirmation from one of the parties at the moment, and we will definitely come with details to you tomorrow. But as I said, that we will get all parties here. You can hear their views on policies and what you'd like to hear, of course, the questions coming through and the clarifications being made, and to make it easier for you the day when you go and cast your vote, that you have made a well-informed decision after listening to all the parties on what their stand is on the different policies in this year's elections.
Jarvis, status report.
I'm sorry, sir. We've lost auxiliary power. Shutdown sequence initiated.